Okay, no great harm lost. 2 lines from the bottom of Daf Tzadik Tesamid Beis. An apikoris is somebody that's Elikigain Yosef Kamei Rabbi, sitting in front of his Rebbe. V'nafalei shmaitz b'duchta achrita, and he thinks about a connecting Gemara somewhere else. V'amar hachi amin on hasim, it says this over there. V'loi amar hachi amar mar, and he doesn't say with respect that the master taught us this over there.
The master that he's quoting?
No, the master is Rebbe.
His Rebbe.
Yeah. Rav Amar, Rav says, you know what an apikoris is? Kigain hani debei Binyamin Asya, the people of the household of Binyamin the doctor. The Imrei Maya hani lon Rabbanan. What did they get benefit us? You know, they don't help us from what we know in the Torah. Me'aylam lo yishar lanu urva. They don't permit for us a raven. And they don't forbid to us a dove. In other words, what's forbidden is forbidden, what's permitted, permitted. They don't add anything. But Rava Kiavi Maisek Treifta de Binyamin Kamei, when they brought an animal that they weren't sure if the animal is kosher, they weren't sure if the animal has a perforated membrane of the brain, if the animal has a good lung, and they bring it for Rava to Paskin. When he saw that it's not a fatal flaw and there's a reason to be materit, he would point out to them, Amalu techazu, see the kosherina l'cha urva, I permitted to you a raven, because if I wouldn't have found this heter, you wouldn't be able to eat it. When he saw the reason to prohibit it, this was really a kosher animal, and now I prohibited it, and I made it to you like I made a dove aser. Rapapa Amar, Rapapa says another example of an apikoris. Kigainda Amar Hani Rabbanon, like he said, if a person says derisively, Hani Rabbanon, those rabbis. You ever hear that statement? No, those rabbis. Rapapa Ishtale, Rapapa forgot. V'amar kigain hani like kigain hani Rabbanan. He said, like, for example, those rabbis, and because he said it, ve'esiv b'tanisa, he sat in a tanis. This is a very interesting thing to do. If somebody thinks that they embarrass someone in public, besides asking for forgiveness, it's a good idea to fast. It says, now even though the Meiri says it's talking about if you do it habitually, but it's a very serious crime to embarrass somebody publicly. You know, it's not a, you know, it's not a simple thing. You know, when we do it with Marshall, it's only in jest, but to embarrass someone publicly, it's serious. That's a very serious crime. It's interesting, I just saw in Rabbi Mintz's Sefer, where Rabbi Mintz quotes halachas that he heard from Ramosha. So he asked Ramosha a question, if you could say a milsa de b'dichusa, like a lightheaded remark, in middle of the shir. Because the Gemara says that you should be pasach b'milsa de b'dichusa. You should open up the shir with, something to make the Talmid merry, and then it should be serious. So Ramintz wanted to know, could you say like a little banter in middle of the shir? And because he says the Gemara says only in the beginning of the shir. So Ramosha said to him, Frek's good, you're asking a good question, but it's good to say a milsad bichus in the middle of the shir also. So it could very well be that that's an example of niskatnu hadairis. Maybe earlier generations didn't need it, but our generation, in order to keep people listening and keep people on their toes and keep people awake, you need to say something about Marshall or Barry even in the middle of the shir. But listen, you don't tell people what I pay you.
We have Ramosha's Haskama. It doesn't get better than that. Hey, Marshall, in good company.
Now,
there you go.
Now he looks like a mutt.
He is.
Saba, you're joining the fray. What's going on?
I want to ask Vital what's going on with the dog. What's up? Don't ask.
Levi Bar Shmuel, Rav Huna Bar Chia, Levi Bar Shmuel, Mark, it's good to have you. It's good to have A.B. Spry joining us. Oh, I didn't invite anybody. What am I talking about? Did I? I didn't invite anybody. We welcome in Barry Cement and Aaron Spade, and Marshall Castle and Saba and Yaakov Warman and Mo Kushner and Eddie Chazan. Eddie, we're going to wish you a safe trip home in Yitzhak Hashem. Eddie, we're going to miss you, but we're happy that you're going home.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you. I'm going to miss you guys too, but I'll catch you on the morning if you want.
Right, and if you get up very early in the morning, you know where to find us.
Okay.
Ruvain Pollack and Shelley Zeitlin, Irving Fishbaum, A.B. Spry, Chaim Lerner, Mel Zachter, Menachem Yemansky, Shimon Klein, Dov Salkowitz, Nachman Chapler, Shalom Fogel, Dr. Guy, Michal, Stephen Holtzman, Yitzi Fuchs, Mark Frankel, Yitzi Muller, Itchy, who is a little bit upside down, but Barry Cement, Yisrael Fisher, Ilya Shutman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Abe Arbach. Here in the shul, we have Barish Gesseman. Barish, we really enjoyed having you this week. I mean, but it shouldn't be for doctors, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram, and Ruvain Shanet. So now the Gemara tells us as follows. Levi Bar Shmuel Rav Huna Bar Chia have a kamasakne mitbechai sifrei debei Rav Yehuda. He was fixing the mantles of the sifrei of the svarim in the academy of Rav Yehuda. Now they kept in mantles not only sifrei Torah, but they also had scrolls of the different neviim. So Kimot Megillas Esther, when they reached Megillas Esther, Imre. They said, Ha Megillas Esther, he was of the opinion that Esther was not Nitna Baruch HaKodesh, was not inspired by Ruach HaKodesh, therefore it was not Metame Yadayim, it didn't contaminate the hands. Things of holiness were Metame Yadayim because of Gzeira, because they were afraid that they would keep Truma together with the Sifrei Torah, and then rats would come and chew at the Sifrei Torah. So therefore, they made Sifrei Kodesh Metame Yadayim. But there is an opinion that Megillas Esther is not Metame Yadayim because it's not divinely inspired. It's a machlokes. But he said this Megillas Esther, mitpachas, it doesn't need a mitpachas, a mantle, because it's not so holy. Amalahu, so Rav Yehuda said, Ki hai gavna nami mirze ki apikurusa. This kind of behavior is also smacks of apikurusis, because you don't say in front of your Rebbe, this doesn't need. You could say Rebbe doesn't need, or you could say Rebbe, you taught us that this doesn't need. But just to say this doesn't need in front of your Rebbe, that looks like apikurusis. Some say it was because he denigrated Megillas Esther, and he said Megillas Esther doesn't need a mitpachas, and that was the apikurusis. Rav Nachman Omer ze akirei Rabbi b'shmai. This is someone who calls his Rebbe by his name without any prefatory title. I mean, we do say Rab Moshe, we do say Rab Ruvain. We do say Rab Aaron, but that's because we put the title, the honorific, beforehand. But just to say the Rebbe's name, that's apikurusis. Stam Rab Yochanan, mipnei ma nenesh Gechazi. Why was Gechazi punished? Mipnei shekar l'Rabbi b'shmai, because he referred to his Rebbe Elisha by his proper name. Shenema v'yomer Gechazi, when the Gechazi talked to the Goyish king, Adoni Amelech, my Lord, my King, Zoisa Isha, this is the woman, V'zeh b'na asher hechaya Elisha, that Elisha brought to life. So he called his Rebbe by his name. Yosef Rabbi Yirmiyah came to Reb Zera. Rabbi Yirmiyah was sitting before Reb Zera. Yosef v'kamer osed HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo hitzi nachal mibeis kachei hakachim. He's going to bring a river out of the base kachei hakachim, out of the Holy of Holies. The Gemara tells us elsewhere that it would start out very narrow and it will constantly broaden. The olive, and growing along its banks on both sides, are kol mine megadim, are all kinds of delicacies, all kinds of delicious fruits. Shenema v'alanachal, and on the banks of the river Yalal Svasai, they will grow on its edge, mizeh from each side. On each side, kol eitz machal, every fruit tree, lo yibel aleu, its leaves will not wither, v'lo yitam pirya, its fruit will not cease. L'chadash of yavaker, it will grow every month. Ki meimav min hamikdashema, because its water is holy from the temple. Min hamikdashema yotzim, v'yapirya l'machal, its fruit will be to enjoy, to eat, v'aleyu l'srufa, and its leaves will be for refuah. It will be for medicinal purposes. The Gemara is going to be a little bit more specific in what kind of medicinal purpose. Amalei ahu saber. So a certain elderly person said, Yasher, that is correct. V'chein amar Rabbi Yochanan. Amalei Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zeira, ki agavna mirze apikurusa. This looks like apikurusa is to say correct. So the Gemara doesn't accept this, especially since usually the code is that throughout Shas, when it says Ahu Saba, it's referring to Eliyahu Hanavi. So Amalei ha siyud k'Messiah, he's only bringing proof. Siyud k'Messiah, he's only saying a proof to you that the great Rabbi Yochanan holds like that. El ishmielach, if you heard something about the temple and something that smacks of apikursus, hoshmielach. It's the following. Ki hadi Yosef Rabbi Yochanan v'Kadarish, Rabbi Yochanan was sitting and expounding. Hashem is going to bring precious gems and pearls, shem shloishim al shloishim amas, that are 30 by 30 amas. That's 60 by 60 feet. Talk about a lot of carats of diamond. Right? V'choykik b'hem, and he's going to carve out of them an opening, eser barum esrim, 10 by 20, but the height of 20, umamidon b'shara Yerushalayim, and he'll put them up by the gates of Jerusalem, shenem v'samti kamkoid shimshoisayich, I will make from katkoid. Katkoid is precious gems. I will make. What?
No. Sometimes I do, sometimes he does. I tell you about.
Okay, v'samti kadkoid shimshoisayich, I will make from the precious stones. The art scroll says that some say that kadkoid is jasper, or beryl, or onyx. Yeah, but some say it's a specific stone. Usha'araich, and your gateways la'avnei ektach. Your gateways will be cut and carved out of these stones. Now, when this Talmud heard that there's going to be a precious stone that's 30 by 30 amas, ligle galav isa Talmud. Talmud mocked it. Now, it's possible he mocked it only to himself. But he mocked it. We don't find a precious stone the size of an egg of a dove. We're going to find a precious stone that's 30 by 30 amas. One day, his boat got swept out to sea. He caught a glimpse of celestial angels that they were sawing precious stones and pearls. So he said to them, Hani Laman, who are these for? Amrei Asad HaKadosh Baruch Hu La'amidan B'shar Yerushalayim. Hashem is destined to put them in the gates of Yerushalayim. Ki Hadar, when he came back, Ashkechei Rabbi Yochanan the Yosef Kadarish, he found Rabbi Yochanan darshaning. Amalei Rabbi Draish, darshan u'lecha na'el lidraish. It's a pleasure to listen to you. Kishem she'amarta, like you said, kach re'isi. I saw that. He says, you have to see it? You don't believe what it says in the Messiah? Amalei Reika. If you didn't see it, empty head, if you didn't see it, you wouldn't believe it. You're mocking the words of the sages, you're questioning the words of the sages. He cast with displeasure at him, and he became a bag of bones, a pile of bones. Now, we benefit from this, because our emunah is strengthened, that we actually got, again, we should believe the Messiah. But obviously the Gemara is giving us this teaching also to strengthen us. It's like we said, as long as we believe the Messiah, there's nothing wrong with getting the Messiah strengthened. That's what we say, that when we see the wicked get punished, so it says, Vishilumas Risham Tira. You should see the punishment of the wicked. That strengthens your belief in Schar V'Einish. Meisvei, it says, V'oilech eschem kaimimias. At the time of Mashiach, those that survive, I will lead them upright. Remeir Aimer, that the worthy people will be Masayim Amma, will be 200 Ammas tall. Kishtei kaimai shel adam arishin, double the size of the original man. Rabbi Yudaimer Meya Amma, keneged eichel v'kaisalav, corresponding to the height of the temple and its walls. Shenemar asher banenu kinetiyim, our children are like shoots, megudalim binureyem, already towering in their youth. Tavnis heichel, the form of the temple, which was 100 amas. Now, if they were 100 amas or 200 amas, how can they fit in a gate that's only 20 amas high? Says the Gemara, Kikam Rabbi Yochanan, Lekaved Beizika. It were ventilation windows that were made out of this precious stone. We can't imagine what the gates will be made out of, but just the ventilation windows will be made out of these precious stones. Now, Maiva Aleyu Lisrufa, what does it mean that its leaves will be for healing? What kind of healing? Rabbi Yitzchak Avdim Rav Chisda. It's machlokes Rabbi Yitzchak Avdim Rav Chisda. Chad Amalahat Peshel Mala. It will cure people that are mute. V'chad Amalahat Peshel Mata. It will cure people that were akaros, that were barren. Itmanami Chizki Amalahat Pe'ilmin, to open up the mouth of the mute. By Kapara Amalahat Pe'akaros, in order to help women conceive. Rabbi Yochanan L'Srufa Mamish, it will be medicine. My L'Srufa. Rabbi Shmuel Ben Achmeni, I'm L'Sayer Ponim Shel Bali Apeh, to cure the countenance of people that use their mouth for Torah. Darish Rabbi Yehuda Simain, because it says, Kol HaMashchir Ponav Al Divrei Torah B'Olam Hazeh, whoever blackens their face in Torah, in this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mavik Zivav L'Olam Haba. Hashem will cause him to shine in the next world. Because the Talmidei Chacham will be impoverished, and they'll be out of the sun, their faces will be blackened, Hashem will give them Aleu L'Srufa, to give them back a wonderful countenance. Shenemar Mar'eu Kalavanin, your appearance will be like Lebanon, Bocher Ba'arazim, like the choicest of the cedar trees. Whoever impoverishes themselves by sitting and learning Torah in this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mazbiya Elohim Haba, Hashem will fill him up in the next world. Shenema Yirviyun Mideshin Beisecha, he will saturate you from the fat of, he will saturate you from that fat in your house. V'nachal Adonecha Sashkein, and rivers of delicacies and delights will he give you to drink. It's good to have Gedalia Engel with us. The Gemara now tells us, Ki asar avdimi amar asar kadosh baruch hu litein l'kol tzadik v'tzadik meloy umsay. Hashem will give to every righteous person a divine handful of reward. Shenemar, Baruch Hashem, blessed is Hashem, Yom Yom Yamas Lanu. Every day He will load upon us. Hakel Yeshua Seinu Sela, the Almighty, who will be our salvation. Says the Gemara, how could we absorb a handful of Hashem? Amalei Abai v'chiyef shaloi mekain v'alek tfar nemar mi modad b'shua loy mayim. He who measures with his hand the waters, v'shamayim bazeres tikain, and measures the heavens with his span. So if all the waters of the world are in a handful of Hashem, how could a person absorb so much reward? My time why weren't you when we learned? Why weren't you there when we learned homiletics? This is the last Mishnah in Uksin. Hashem is destined to give every righteous person 310 worlds to transmit to those that love Him substance, and He will fill their treasures. Now, Yesh is Begematria Tlas Me'av Asaravi, 310. And if you have 310 worlds, so then you could absorb that which is in Hashem's handful. Let's bring in Naftali Jablin. Okay. Welcome Naftali for our 33rd Zoomer of the evening. Tanya, Rameir says, "B'mida she'adam maided maided in life." The way a person acts, that's the way he is treated. This, of course, Rabbi say, is one of the great lessons of Yiddishkeit. It is one of the things that we are supposed to impact our children and grandchildren, impact upon our children and grandchildren on Pesach, right? The idea of midah keneged midah, measure for measure, that they didn't let us bathe, so we were lice infested, so they got stricken with lice. They darkened our lives, so therefore they were punished with choshen. They made us work in the night like in the day, so their day became night. Every aspect of the 10 makkos, every aspect of the punishment was midah keneged midah. So says the Gemara, Tanya Rameir Aimer, welcome Avram Shenkman. We're towards the bottom of Daf Kuf Amud Aleph, 100a, towards the bottom. Tanya, Rameir Aimer, b'midah she'adam maided maided in life. The way a person acts, that's the way he is treated. According to its measure, b'shalcha, when she is sent away, to Rivena, I will contend against her. Amar Rabbi Yeshua v'chi'ef shaloimer came. Adam noisim maloi umsala anai ba'olam hazeh. If a person gives a handful to an ani in this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu noisim maloi umsala olam haba, Hashem will give him a divine handful in the future. The Haksib Shemayim Bazeres Tikain, it says, Mimodad B'shua Loi Mayim, Shemayim Bazeres Tikain, that the heavens are measured with a span. It's not possible for a person to absorb. It says the Gemara, you don't say that Hashem will give such a reward. And you don't say that Hashem will give such a reward. As we, with pleasure, welcome in Reb Eli Yafi for our, Reb Elia, wonderful to have you, for our 35th Zoomer of the evening. Marshall is 15 away from the promised land. The Reb Elia, it's great to have you. We are just turning the page on Daf Kuf Amud Beis in Sanhedrin. You don't want to miss this. So the Gemara says that if you give a handful to an ani in this world, then Hashem will give you a divine handful in the next world. So the Gemara asks, how could we absorb a divine handful? It says that he measured b'shua loimayim. With his handful, it contains all the oceans of the world, all the seas, all the rivers. How could a person absorb so much pleasure? Says the Gemara, which does Hashem do more? Mida taiva, reward, maruba, or midas paranias, or retribution? Which one is more? Mida taiva, maruba, midas paranias. Good is more than punishment. But mida taiva ksiv, vayitzav shchokim mimal, he commanded the heavens above, v'dalsei shemayim pasak, and the doorways of the heavens swung open. V'yamter aleim man lechol. He gave us man. So for man, he opened up the doors of heaven. But by the Mabel Amar Varubas Hashemayim Niftachu, he only opened up the skylights. He didn't open up the doors. I went out and I saw the corpses of the people that sinned against me. Their worms will not die. The fires will not be extinguished. There will be spoiling of all flesh. Now, what does that mean? How could a person suffer forever? Once he sticks his hand in this fire, he's burnt. How could that be forever? He sticks his finger into the fire. It's immediately burnt. How could he suffer forever? Oh, it must be just like Hashem gives the power to the wicked to tolerate an eternity of punishment. Strength to the righteous, and to accept an incredible amount of reward. We welcome in Yeshua Eisenberg for our 36th Zoomer of the evening.
I'm tasting it.
Well, Marshall, you got to get to work. We're gonna. Did anybody see the banner in the waiting room?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, that's due to.
It just flashed by quickly, but I saw something there.
Yeah, that's due to Yaakov Warman. We're going to try to get that banner up on YouTube too. If we could get that banner up on YouTube also, maybe we could get more people to join us, and Marshall could get some bourbon. We'll have to get something for Yaakov too. We'll see what he wants. Maybe a good watch. Maybe an. But anyway, the Gemara tells us. Rabbi Akiva says, one learns Olam Haba when he learns the Svarim that are supposed to be outside. Tana b'sifrei tzedukim. These are books of the heretics, those that didn't accept Torah Shabbal Peh. The halacha is that such books have to be burnt. Books, for example, of Reform rabbis have to be burnt. They contain ideas that are heresy, and they have to be burnt. And to read them is endangering your Olam Haba. Tana, Rabbi Yosef Amar, even b'Sefer Ben Sira nami asel lemikre. It's forbidden to read the Sefer of Ben Sira, and here comes Rabbi Kranz for our 37th Zoomer of the evening. This is getting very serious over here. Yeah.
Come on, Frankel, send your friends.
Well, welcome, Rabbi Kranz. It's good to have you. We're just holding by the two dots on Daf Kuf Amud Beis. Rav Yosef Amar b'Sefer Ben Sira Nami Asel Lemikre. You're not allowed to read the Sefer Ben Sira. As I told you, there is a opinion that Ben Sira was a son of Yirmiyah, so he wasn't. He came from amazing yichus, and there is in his book information that was worthy of Talmudic quotation. But it contains some foolishness also, and therefore it's not advised to read it. Amalei Abaye, my time. What's the reason why we do not want people to read Ben Sira? Ilema mishum diksiv bei like tintosh gildana me udne. Don't flake off the skin around the ears of a certain type of fish. So that the skin doesn't get wasted. Rather roast it in fire. Tartan greets him and eat it with 2 pieces of bread, with 2 rolls. There's nothing wrong with that. If it's telling us its literal meaning, and it's telling us don't waste that skin because it's a tasty part of the fish. So if it's simple meaning, there's a halacha about tashlis, not to waste things. And midrasha, if it's for its more homiletic interpretation, that it means that a person shouldn't have relations with his wife in a abnormal manner, not to have anal intercourse, which is also a good piece of information. That a daughter to a father is a vain treasure. In other words, he might think, he has a daughter. According to biblical custom, he could sell her until she reaches the age of puberty, and then he gets a dowry from her. So he thinks it's a great thing. From fear, from worry about her, he won't be able to sleep in the night. When she's young, maybe somebody will seduce her. Maybe when she gets her hormones, maybe she'll be promiscuous. Bogra shemaloi timase, maybe she won't find a husband. Nisei shemaloi yelabadim, she might not have children. Hiskina, she gets old. Shematasik shafim, women practice sorcery. So the Gemara says that's nothing new. Rabbanan ami amrua. The Rabbanan also said, it's not possible for the world to exist without men, without women. Ashrei mi shabanav zacharim. Fortunate is someone who has boys. Aylai mi shabanav in the caves. Well, if he only has girls, it's a lot more difficult. It's a lot more difficult today. We see it's really a lot more difficult to marry off a girl than to marry off a boy. Ela mishum dechsiv loisoil davya belibach. Don't allow worry to creep in your heart. The Gavrei Gibarin Kotel Davya, because the mightiest of the mightiest were killed by anxiety. Says, that's a good piece of advice. Shlomo Amra, Shlomo Melech said this. Daga b'leivish yashchena. A person who has worry in his heart, he should push it down. Rabami Rabasi Chad Amar Yesichena Midaitoi. He should get it off his mind. He should do things to get it off his mind. While the Chad Amar Yesichena La'acherim, speak to others, because a trouble shared is halved. Withhold the public from your house. Don't bring everybody into your house. You bring people into your house, you and your family could learn all kinds of wrong things from them. People make a mistake. They invite, when their children are in their formative years, they invite all kinds of people to their table, and they don't realize the children have big ears, and they listen and they learn wrong things. Maybe they learn to speak Lashon Hara. They learn other things. Says Rabbi Nami Amra. Rabbi also said this. Rabbi, don't have many friends in your house. Shenemer ish reim, a man who brings in friends. A person could be harmed from those friends. It's interesting that Rashi over here. Rashi says, "V'loi savi v'loi akol tavi beisecha afilu oisam she'atam is asekimam loi taviyam tadul beisecha elam mechutz tedabri imam." Talk to them outside. I learned this Rashi, and I thought about an event that happened with me with Rabbi Miller many years ago. We're talking about 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. I had a weighty question to ask Rabbi Miller. So I made an appointment with him. And where did he talk to me? He met me and he spoke to me on the bottom of the steps of his house. I didn't get into his house. So when I went to be Menachem over the Rebbetzin, when Rav Miller passed away, I told this story over to her. I said the Rav really didn't want to be distracted from his learning from a minute extra. So I told her. So at the Nichum Avelim was the venerable Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva of Brooklyn, Ramanis Mendel. Ramanis Mendel said, Rabbi Weiss Nichamtoni. He says, I had a weighty question about Yeshiva Brooklyn. I made an appointment, and he met me down by the steps. I said, well, I don't even get to go upstairs to the house. Rav Miller did not want a second to be wasted. And this is this Gemara over here, this Rashi. But it didn't reflect on us. It just like, Rav Miller, when he went, and he didn't go to weddings. But he went to the chassan of his children. He used to walk around with the coat in his hand. And the family would say, Zaidi, where are you going? So he would say, I have people waiting for me in the house. He says, everybody that's important is here. Your family is here. He said, no, Abaye and Rava are waiting for me in the house. Abaye and Rava, That's what Marshall says when somebody says to him, hockey game. He says, hockey schmacky. I have Abaye and Rava waiting for me in the house.
On the ice.
He used to say that he's preparing for the big bechina.
Yeah, preparing for the big bechina. Yeah, he's preparing. Well, how fortunate are you to have known him so well? Ramila would say that he's preparing for the big bechina. As a matter of fact, before he passed away, there was a certain k'tzais that he planned to say over when he gets his test, and he was reviewing that k'tzais. That midai malay, yachid b'dairai. Says the Gemara. So again, so far everything that Ben Sira says matches the advice of the Torah. Here, however, we have the nonsense. If you see somebody with a thin beard, kartaman, he has a thin beard, that means that he's wise. Avdekan, if you see that he has a thick beard, sachsan, he's a fool. Dinafach bekisei loitzachi. If one has, let's say, he pours a mug of beer, and he blows away the froth before he drinks, that's a sign that he's not thirsty. Amar b'mai.
Something Rav Papa would say.
Amar b'mai ochel lachma. If he says, "What dip can I eat my bread with?" Lachma savmine. Take the bread away from him. He wants baba ganoush, or this one wants tchina, this one wants tomato dip. Take his bread away. Man di islay mabarta b'diknei. If somebody has a part in his beard has a part. Nobody will be able to vanquish him. This is utter nonsense, and because of this utter nonsense, this is not something to read. However, you may quote the wise things in Ben Sira. Amr Rav Yosef, Mila Mal Yosef de Ispe Darshinanu. The wise things that are in Ben Sira, you could indeed quote. Isha Toiva Matana Bechek. A good woman is an amazing gift. In the bosom of a God-fearing person, it is given. a God-fearing person, Hashem wants that God-fearing person to be able to concentrate and not be distracted by the troubles of a wife. So he gives him a good wife. Isha Ra, an evil wife, tzaras labala, is like leprosy. You go shena beisai, chase her out of the house, v'yisrape mitzarata, and be cured of the tzaras. Isha Yafa Ashrei Bala, a beautiful wife, whether in looks or in deed, fortune is her husband. Mispar Yamav Kiflaim. This is also Gemara in Yavamas. His days are doubled. Halameinecha me'eshes chen. Hide your eyes from a married woman of charm. Pen tilached b'mitzudasa, lest you be caught in her trap. Don't hang around her husband to drink with him wine and strong beverage. Because of the form of a beautiful woman, many were destroyed. And mighty are all those that she kills. The Avon man, the perfume peddler, gets a lot of injuries because he's with women. Husband comes in and doesn't like the way they're talking, and he gets a stout beating. Hamargilim lidvar erva, those that cause others to sins of the flesh are dangerous. Kenitzas mavir gacheles, like a spark ignites coals. Kikluv malei oif, like a coop is full with birds, and you see it from the outside because the feathers stick outside. Kain bateyem maleyem mirma. You know that these people that engage in adulterous unions, their house is full of deceit. Menar rabim mi beisecha. Withhold the public from your house. The house should be a sacred place. Don't bring everyone into your house. Many should be people that you seek their peace. In other words, you should be on a good basis with everybody, right? That's the way a person should be, right? A person should be, we said that you should be at good relationships with everyone. But only reveal your secret to 1 out of 1,000. Even from the one that sleeps in your bosom, even your wife, shmor piskei picha, guard the opening of your mouth. Be careful what you say, even to your spouse. Al teitzat saras macher. Oh, the great advice. Don't worry about tomorrow's problems. Here's a person, he's 35 years old, and he looks downcast. And somebody asks him why. He says, I don't know if I have enough money for retirement. He says, I figure that right now my plan is I can make it to 75, but over 75, I'm going to start running out of money according to the figures of inflation. I don't know what's going to be. At the end, he dies from cancer at 50. So he's worried about 75. Don't worry about tomorrow's troubles. You don't know what the day is going to bring. Maybe tomorrow you won't be here. And you're worried about a world that's not yours. All the days of the poor are bad. Ben Sira says, even the nights. Bishval gagim gagai. His roof is the lowest of all the roofs. And his field is all the way on top of his vineyard is all the way on top of the mountain. All the water from all the roofs drain down and hits his poor roof. And the fertile soil of his vineyard, lekramim, flies off and goes to all the other vineyards. What is that? What it says? All the days of the poor are evil. Elu bali Talmud. Because people that learn Gemara, it's difficult. It's kasha, teretz, toshma, refutation, reversals. It's hard. The Toiv Leiv Mishta Tamid, and one who is happy at heart is a perpetual banquet. Eilu Bali Mishnah, because the Mishnah is relatively easy. 3 things this way, 2 things that way. It's straightforward. Rava Amar Ipcha. Rava says,
I think the Marshal said that you should say those Rashi Tavis, the Simonim.
yeah, some say you should say it. Okay, Simon, Zeira, Rava, Misharshe, Chanina, Tov, Yanai, Yafa, Yochanan, Rachim, Yeshua, Mekatze. Rava Amar Ipcha. Rava says the other way around. He says that Kol Yemei Ani Ra'im is Mishnayos, because you learn Mishnayos, but you don't know, you only get some principles, but you can't paskin from the Mishnayos. If you paskin from Mishnayos, you're called Mavlei Olam, destroyer of the world. But Toiv Leiv Mishta Tamid, somebody who learns the Gemara and could come out with Asukei Shmaitza, the Hilchus, or with Halach Lamaisa, that's delicious. V'ainu d'amar Mishash Mishmei Derava, Ma'idich Siv Matzia Avonim Ye'otza Behem. One who quarries stone is sad with them. Eilu Bali Mishnah. That's Mishnah, because the Mishnah doesn't give you a maskana. Ubekeya Eitzim Yisachin Bam. But he who chops wood will be warmed by it. That's Eilu Bali Talmud. Whenever I learn a Gemara that talks about quarrying stone, I think about my father, Olav Shalom. That's what he did in Auschwitz. He went out during the day, and they made him quarry stone. And he said that that's why in the night you had to be careful to sleep. Even if there were rats crawling out of the straw by your feet, you had to sleep. Because if you dozed off by the quarry, they shot you. He saw many of his friends shot in the head by the Nazis. They just dozed off. The pressure that they lived in by these Nazis, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram, is unimaginable. Unimaginable. And that's why, the Holocaust survivors, they, I told you that my father once came into the kitchen, and my brother Yisrael, my brother Yosef Asher, and I were eating cereal. I was having super sugar smacks. My brother Yosef Asher was having Fruit Loops, and I think Yisrael was having alphabets. And he said that anyone that needs their own sugared cereal, not a sugared cereal, but their own sugared cereal, wouldn't last 10 minutes in Auschwitz. That's what my father said. And he didn't say it critically. He just said it by way of observation. I remember that we had once a snow of 2 feet. Now, this was when my elementary school, Tiferes Torah, was no longer in the Malzike, right next to our house, but it was on 16th Avenue and 58th Street. So I had to go from 14th and 46th, 2 blocks, to 16th Avenue and 46, and then take a bus. So I figured it's 2 feet of snow. I didn't get ready for school. So my father looked at me and said, "Why aren't you getting ready for school?" I said, "Daddy, it's a blizzard outside. I'm not going to school." He said, "I walked 2 miles to Cheder without boots." And this was before the camps. It's anyway. The Gemara says,
Did you go to Cheder after that?
Yeah, I went to school. Yeah. Reb Chanina Amar. Reb Chanina says, "Kol Yemei Ani Roim Zeh Mi Sheyesh Lo Isha Ra." This is somebody who has Lo Yaleinu, a bad wife. Now, by the way, this is not somebody whose wife is bad to him. Because sometimes if his wife is bad to him, it's because he's bad to her. That's not a bad wife. That's because he's a bad person. But then there are people that have dysfunctional wives. An Isha Ra. V'toiv leiv mishta tamid, v'toiv leiv mishta tamid zeh sheyesh lo isha toiv. That's somebody who has a good wife. Rabbi Yanai Aimer kol yemei ani raim zeh istanis. This is a person who's too fastidious. He's too fastidious. He can't eat anywhere. He only could eat from plastic. He's very fastidious. While the toiv leiv mishta tamid zeh shedaita yafa. This is a person who has a more accepting attitude. Rabbi Yochanan Kol Yemei Ani Ram Zeh Rachmani. This is a person who's overly merciful. Overly merciful, he can't sleep in the night. This is somebody who is more callous, and therefore they're able to sleep in the night. They hear reports of something, they're able to sleep. Rabbi Shua ben Levi Kol Yemei Ani Raim Zeh Shedaitik Tzara. This is a person who has a temper. He's always angry. This is an easygoing person. All the days of the poor are bad. The Gemara says, why? The Shabbos and Yom Tov. Kiddush Shmuel. A change in one's diet is the beginning of stomach illness. So the whole week he's eating only a crust of bread. And now on Shabbos he sits down to gefilte fish and soup, and he gets sick because he's not used to eating so much. He's not used to eating such rich food. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we're positioned for Daf 101 and 102 on Motzei Shabbos. This Motzei Shabbos, Rabbi Isai, shir is 10 o'clock, and very important. Next week's shir is 8:15. The reason why shir is 8:15 is I'm going to be descended upon after Mincha Marv by people who want to sell their chametz. So I don't want to keep people waiting. So this way, shir will be 8:15. By 8:15, I should, be clear to learn.
I'll buy it.
And if you want to sell your chametz, Rabbi, say through me. I'm not looking to take anybody away from anybody, but if you're looking to sell chametz through me, make sure to email me and I'll send you a star. And we're not
to get my hot dogs.
and we're now going to have and your Pepsi, and we're now going to have the share for the Shabbos table.